We Lynn's gone and Twinette's gone, so we have no music for today, and nobody volunteered to be the worship leader. So we're having unprogrammed worship today. Um, so we will center. Are there announcements that need to be made that anybody's aware of? How about joys and concerns?
Well, I have a concern, I guess, for myself. Um, the the joy is that I'm finally getting somewhere. But the Thursday, I go back to the hematologist to find out if all of the multiple blood clots have disappeared.
Hmm.
Tuesday, Tuesday, I have to go in for an MRI, and hopefully this is the last treatment for my cancer.
Hmm.
Dick continues to be a little uncertain as, we sort of explore all his options and things. And I find that, I'm having a very hard time controlling my reactions to anything. You know, he wasn't able to go to sleep and he has a little headache, and that could be a bad thing, I guess, on the medicine that he's on. But, every time there's a twinge, I can't get hysterical, and I just never know how to. So I take his heart rate to make sure that he's okay, and then I take my heart rate. It's twice his. It's just, I don't know. I got to manage this a little bit better, but I haven't got the knack of it yet.
Here's a little joy for you.
Oh.
Among the bad times, bad news, there is always good news.
Yeah.
So you had another son?
This is a great granddaughter,
Great granddaughter.
Reese.
Great.
Well, the joy for me, since I'd like to spread joy too, is after a fiasco Saturday of moving with a truck and all kinds of things, in which Roger Penske and I had a big discussion on Monday. Sunday, the truck arrived right on time, driven by my son-in-law, and all the help was here. My cousin, who once owned a logistics company, brought his grandson and this big guy who was a mover, Sherman, and two of my sisters were here. And Corey Cockrell, the president of Wilmington College, and her husband came up and helped unload. And we had the truck unpacked in 31 minutes. All the furniture in the house. And then we sat down and ate lunch. So it was just kind of that part of the move worked according to the schedule I had planned, except I thought it'd take an hour and a half to unload everything. But no, they just set it right up. And Sherman, especially, he's this rather large African American fellow, and he was carrying bookcases in by himself. It's like he goes, just guide me. That's all I need. So it was fun, and then we just sat down and had a great lunch, and a lot of people didn't know each other, so but I was just really touched that Corey and her husband would drive all the way up from Southern Ohio to help unpack. So well, let's hold both these concerns and joys. This is a great fellowship that we have to support one another. And let's do that as we center. And of course, anyone who feels led, please speak as you feel led.
This morning I woke up and I didn't reach for my phone right away, but I did pick up my phone. And I decided to delete some apps that I never use. Apps, man, in the 80s, who would have thought? Anyway, I went to this app that I didn't know what it was, and I clicked on it just to see if it was something that I could use. And it was a storytelling app of places around your town or wherever you are located. And a little podcast came up for a New Haven road, believe it or not. And it came up, it has a name. I don't remember the name of the road. It's the first turnpike in America. And it had something to do, the name was something to do with a gate. And the message and how it got its name came through Matthew. So I looked up Matthew and I read the reading that they were pointing to. And I just wanted to share it with you guys because I don't know where it came from, but it really hit me. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. I thought that was incredibly powerful. For waking up one morning out of nowhere, looking at a stupid phone with apps, and this jumped up at me. It goes on to say, watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. I was at a meeting with my evangelical men friends Tuesday. It's 2.5 years of this. We invited our wives so that they could see what we were going through and understand what this is about. And Catherine came. I can't tell you how great that felt. There were over 60 people there around this fire. And then some young man showed up with a Trump t-shirt and made my wife feel uncomfortable because she knew no one. And yes, these are very Republican leaning friends. One of the leaders asked how our wives thought about that night the next day. And I wrote to them that my wife was uncomfortable because of a t-shirt. No one wore a t-shirt when we gathered for 2.5 years with respect to each other as men. But when the women came, someone had to do that. Some things were said on the text message board that became very ugly. The leaders stepped up. They listened to what I had to say. And the person who was very angry about the situation has been asked to leave. He is one of those false prophets. I believe it. He speaks the language. His actions are far from it. So when I got this message today, it really struck deep in me. It told me that I did the right thing. That I may have struggled to write that note, but I did. I'm hoping I found that small gate.
I had mentioned in our greeting time that I was glad that the Lions Club 4 H fair was over. We had a lot of participants this year. And even though I'm grateful that it's over, and I think everybody involved is glad when the end comes for 1 year, but I had a discussion with a 4 H leader who is so enthusiastic about expanding the program with new projects to involve a lot more students so that they can become involved in new learning and doing things in a variety of types of projects. And she is enthused about expanding it so that so many more students can become involved and be a part of a group that is a positive group. And I am grateful for her leadership and for her enthusiasm and her renewed energy to start all over again for another year. And I'm grateful for people who step up and want to take some leadership roles and help our youth to become involved in good programs.
Yesterday evening, I was reading a book. I've been reading it for a while, about different dimensions of Quaker spirituality, and just felt led to share that in the portion I read yesterday evening. The author quoted the same passage from Matthew that Steve shared. So evidently that's a bit of a synchronistic moment.
One of the joys of restocking my bookshelves, well, there have been two. One was when I got all the books out and on the shelves, I thought, well, there's a lot of books missing, but I can't tell you what they are. I mean, I can tell you categories of that used to be larger. Um, but the other was finding books that have meant a lot over the years. And one, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the statue of Mary Dyer at the Earlham campus and on Boston Common, the great martyr. That was done by a Quaker artist named Sylvia Shaw Judson. She was also famous for the Bird Girl statue that was on the cover of the book Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And I bought Nancy one of those a long time ago, and unfortunately her arm got broken in the move, so we have to put it back together. But she did a little book. It's called The Quiet Eye. a way of looking at pictures, and it's all meditations. There's a forward in it, but there's Quaker quotes throughout it. True simplicity consists not in the use of particular forms, but in foregoing overindulgence. And then she has a bench, photo of a bench from Stillwater Meeting House in Ohio, Barnesville, and on and on. But I love the idea of a quiet eye. It's one thing to quiet our ears or our voice. Uh, but to have quiet eyes that observe without feeling like we need to respond with our mouths or anything else. That's hard for me. um, and so uh, this book isn't on the shelf anymore. It's sitting right next to my computer to remind me um, as I look out on the new scenes of nature around here uh, to really observe. And also in my interactions with people instead of um, jumping into a conversation, maybe just have a quiet eye and see what's going on with their body language and all those sorts of things. I think uh, Jesus was one of those who knew there had to be times for quiet hearts and quiet mouths and quiet ears, and so often would go off by himself. And a lesson always that I need to hear. But I would commend that book to you if it's been around for decades. Uh, but it's a lovely little book, The Quiet Eye. I wonder if, since we've had an extended period of unprogrammed worship today, if friends are easy closing meeting for worship, or if you would like to continue. We normally end around this time for the program part.
I'm open to either.
I've had enough quiet time.
I really like you guys.
I could go longer, but I'm going to have another hour in a minute. I'm going to leave for, a little while for my next meeting.
I'm
Well,
a waiting worship fan, so I would be open to longer, but if others wish to go, then that's fine as well.
Well, we'll continue a while longer, and folks who need, for whatever reason, to leave, Godspeed, and we hope to see you next week.
Bye.
I think I will leave and not stress my back any longer. Otherwise, I would stay.
Prayers for your continued recovery.
Thank you.
if all hearts are clear, I think we can close meeting for worship.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Thanks
next week.
for the sharing today. It's always good. So, Catherine, I was thinking when Steve told the story about the Trump shirt, my son-in-law, who I love dearly, is a Trump supporter, and he came to the moving. I mean, he drove the truck and everything wearing a 45-47 shirt. And so my friend Donna was not happy with that. She's even more liberal than I am. But I said, well, that's a nice shirt, Michael, how it honors the end of World War II and the year mom and dad graduated from high school. And he kind of flushed and smiled. So,
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, fine,
yeah,
but this was a religious gathering.
yeah,
We had so many invited people that someone had
yes,
Well, to just explain the shirt, it wasn't just a word, it was like a timeline and all these
it was
dates,
a
and
billboard.
it was a billboard about I mean it got a little, it was very informative but it wasn't just a
Way too
little
much.
shirt. It
Yeah.
just, yeah, I mean it you know.
It was meant to
provoke.
do exactly
Yeah,
what it did.
yeah. You know, he could have chosen a simple shirt. I wouldn't have mind the couple numbers, you know, but you know,
Yeah,
God knows what the back of the shirt said, but yeah.
Well, think about it. You got a bunch of people around a fire, it's dark,
And it was bright.
and this guy shows up, and it started to feel very political.
Well,
yeah,
functionally, I think
I
this
actually
thing
had
is,
images of KKK.
yeah, I think functionally this thing is basically a cult at